Look at the monsters of your childhood, the colossal beasts that roamed the earth millions of years ago. They told you these creatures, the dinosaurs, died out long before humans ever walked the planet. This is the most elaborate, insidious archaeological fabrication of the 19th century. The dinosaur was invented for one terrifying reason: to displace the overwhelming, undeniable evidence of giant human civilization. Throughout the 19th century, archaeologists were unearthing mountains of enormous, anomalous bones. These were not random animals. They were massive human skeletons, confirming the reality of the giants who built Tartaria. The elite needed a story, a distraction, so they seized these colossal human remains, cobbled them together with animal bones, and created the dinosaur. The invention of the dinosaur served to push the concept of colossal beings millions of years into the past, creating an arbitrary chronological barrier. This was designed to neutralize the mud flood evidence, which proves that the giants were wiped out just a few centuries ago. The deeper the past, the safer the lie. This documentary will expose the faked fossil photographs, the internal museum documents detailing the deliberate mislabeling of giant human bones, and the chilling truth about the time-traveling artifact that proves the 19th century elite knew the true, non-linear nature of history. Watch until the very end, subscribe this channel, like this video, and you will learn the name of the scientist who tried to blow the whistle on the entire fossil hoax. The invention of the dinosaur was a scientific necessity for the cover-up cabal. The evidence of giant human remains was simply too prevalent in the American Midwest, the European caves, and the Tartarian ruins. If the public accepted that colossal, intelligent humans lived just prior to the 19th century, the entire narrative of controlled progress and human evolution would collapse. The dinosaur provided the perfect chronological buffer, a biological smokescreen. The discovery of dinosaur fossils coincided perfectly with the peak of the giant skeleton finds. This was not a coincidence. It was coordinated distraction. The propaganda was absolute. They used powerful imagery, the terrifying, massive lizard, to replace the memory of the highly advanced, technologically superior giant human. Fear replaced respect. The cabal needed to teach the world about these new monsters. They didn't just use textbooks. They used architectural deception. The next segment will expose the true, chilling purpose of the 19th century natural history museums. They were not museums. They were archaeological prisons built to control the flow of evidence. The massive natural history museums built across the world during the 19th century, those colossal, temple-like structures, were not benign institutions of learning. They were archaeological prisons built by the cabal to control, censor, and mislabel the overwhelming physical evidence of the giant civilization. Look at the scale and architecture of these museums. They mimic the grandeur of Tartarian structures, designed to inspire awe and authority. Their true function was 1. Evidence vault, a centralized, controlled location to seize and sequester all anomalous finds, particularly the giant human bones, the Tartarian technological artifacts, and the evidence of the mud flood. 2. Propaganda center, a stage to display the fabricated fossil narratives, the dinosaur, and the approved linear version of human evolution, ensuring the public learned the official lie. The famous fossil reconstructions, the dinosaur skeletons, were often intentionally mounted on oversized human femur bones or other giant remains, providing the colossal scale necessary for the distraction. The human element was absorbed into the monster. The museum became the final checkpoint for historical censorship. Any honest scientist or archaeologist who questioned the fossil narrative was immediately discredited and purged from the institution. The museum was the symbolic seizure of the past. The museums controlled the past, but the geological journals faked the environment. The next segment will expose the systematic falsification of geological time itself, proving that the scientific community in the 19th century worked in coordination with the cabal to invent the millions of years needed for the dinosaur hoax. The invention of the dinosaur required a partner in crime, the invention of deep geological time. The concept of millions of years was not a neutral scientific discovery in the 19th century. It was a necessary chronological lie to create an unbridgeable gulf between modern man and the giant civilization. The geological community, funded and influenced by the same oligarchs who controlled the archives, systematically pushed back the age of the Earth. This was essential for the cover-up. 1. Chronological displacement. By dating the dinosaur fossils back millions of years, they ensured that the Tartarian collapse, which occurred centuries ago, could not possibly be linked to the colossal remains. Point 2. Religious neutralization. The massive timeline shift challenged established religious narratives, which distracted theologians and philosophers away from the core historical lie. The official 19th century geological surveys deliberately ignored or destroyed evidence of recent catastrophic events, such as the mud flood sedimentation layers, instead emphasizing slow, uniform change over vast periods. Any evidence suggesting that the colossal remains were mere centuries old was immediately classified as archaeological noise or misinterpretation. The invention of deep time was the intellectual foundation of the lie. It provided the framework that allowed the dinosaur hoax to function, guaranteeing that anyone who found a giant human bone would automatically dismiss it as a misplaced animal fossil from a distant, safe past. The chronological displacement was masterful, but the simplest artifacts still betrayed the lie. The next segment will reveal the shocking truth behind the crystal artifacts found in 19th century digs. Artifacts that prove the giants possessed the ability to see into the past and future. The greatest piece of suppressed archaeological evidence from the 19th century is a single, bizarre artifact that proves the Tartarian giants had mastered the concept of nonlinear time. It is known simply as the chronovisor crystal. This artifact, a perfectly cut, multifaceted quartz crystal often found near Tartarian communication hubs, was initially mislabeled as a ceremonial bowl or religious icon. Its true function was terrifying, a nonlinear data storage and retrieval device. The chronovisor crystal was capable of holding and projecting visual and auditory records of the past and, potentially, future events. Its unique crystalline structure, when exposed to specific Tartarian energy frequencies, could essentially display the historical archive. The controllers who seized these crystals during the 19th century immediately recognized their danger. If the public could see the actual historical record, the mud flood, the giant civilization, the global energy system, the fabricated timeline would instantly shatter. The crystals were classified under the highest level of military secrecy. This artifact is the ultimate proof that the 19th century elite understood that history was a set of repeating cycles, not a linear progression. The lie of the dinosaur and deep time was created precisely to neutralize the possibility of the public accessing the truth stored within these forbidden crystals. The chronovisor crystal revealed the past, but the lie of the present was protected by faked documentation. The next segment will expose the chilling truth about the official Victorian photographic record, a set of images that were carefully staged to eliminate all traces of the true, bizarre appearance of the 19th century streets. The nostalgia you feel for the 19th century, the clean, orderly, gaslit streets, is based on a lie. The entire official photographic record of Victorian cities was staged and manicured to eliminate all visual evidence of the Tartarian ruins and the bizarre reality of the post-collapse world. The controllers employed official government photographers whose mission was to 1. Remove anomalies. Photos were edited, retouched, or cropped to eliminate exposed Tartarian technology, such as the buried columns. Strange air vents, or non-human symbols. Point 2. Create order. The streets were cleared of the vast amounts of construction debris and sediment from the ongoing mud flood cleanup, creating the false image of a clean, bustling city. Point 3. Normalize scale. Photos were carefully composed to minimize the gargantuan height of the Tartarian architecture, using low-angle shots or wide streets to make the buildings appear less impossibly scaled. The most damning evidence is the complete absence of scaffolding and heavy machinery in many photos taken during periods of intense building. This visual silence was necessary to hide the use of anti-gravity technology for lifting stones and to conceal the fact that the work was primarily excavation not construction. The official 19th century photographic archive is a visual novel, a completely fabricated document designed to create a collective, false memory of an orderly world that never existed. The visual lie was comprehensive, but the key to the entire archaeological hoax lies in the funding. The next segment will reveal the secret internal documents proving that the 19th century dinosaur fossil finds were financed by the same financial cabal that controlled the railroads and the oil industry. The fabrication of the dinosaur required immense resources. It was not funded by academic grants. We reveal the secret internal documents proving that the 19th century dinosaur fossil finds were financed by the same financial cabal that controlled the railroads and the oil industry. You have seen the archaeological prison museums. If this evidence confirms the financial link between big oil and big science, make sure you subscribe to the Epoch Reset channel and hit the like button right now, because we are about to reveal the secret contract detailing the price paid to mislabeled giant bones as reptiles. The infamous 19th century bone wars, the rivalry between competing paleontologists over fossil finds, was not a genuine scientific dispute. It was a controlled competition funded by rival oligarchs, rail barons, mining magnates, who were all operating under the same umbrella of the Great Reset cover-up. The competition was designed to 1. Create urgency. The frantic search created the illusion that dinosaur discoveries were widespread and genuine. 2. Control distribution. It guaranteed that every major fossil find, whether genuine reptile or giant human, was immediately seized by a controlled entity, the competing scientists. The oligarchy's motivation was simple: resource control. The railroad tycoons needed the new geological timeline to justify their massive land seizures in the American West, where giant remains and Tartarian artifacts were abundant. By establishing the deep time narrative, they ensured that no one could claim the land belonged to a recent, technologically superior civilization. The dinosaur was their geological alibi. To sell the massive lie of the dinosaur, the 19th century controllers needed visual proof. The photographs circulated of dinosaur fossil excavations were meticulously staged and often composited using fragmented, often human, remains. Look at the oldest photographs of dinosaur digs. They often show impossibly complete skeletons. Fossils rarely survive intact. The photographed skeletons are frequently shown as being perfectly preserved, which is a major red flag for an engineered hoax. 2. Mismatched scale. The accompanying human figures are often positioned to exaggerate the size of the bones, but the ratios between different parts of the skeleton itself, the reptilian head versus the massive, dense limbs, are anatomically inconsistent that we believe that giant human bones, the dense, heavy femurs and oversized vertebrae, were used as the structural backbone of the initial dinosaur reconstructions. Paleontologists then fabricated the necessary reptilian elements, skulls and claws, to complete the monster. The photographs were taken with extreme care to conceal the seams of this biological fabrication. This photographic manipulation was so successful that it became the visual blueprint for all future museum displays, cementing the fake narrative in the public consciousness for over a century. The most convincing scientific evidence was, in fact, a studio composite. The dinosaur hoax was biological. The hidden truth of time was technological. We reveal the suppressed artifacts found in deep 19th century mines, artifacts that prove the Tartarians possessed unexplained metallic technology that should not exist in the official timeline. These were small, intricate metal objects, often precision machine gears, perfect cubes, or elaborate metal spheres, found encased in solid rock layers supposedly millions of years old. Officially, these were categorized as out-of-place artifacts, OO parts, and quickly removed from public display. These artifacts are not anomalies. They are evidence of a cyclical, non-linear timeline. Their presence deep within the geological record proves that high technology has existed on Earth multiple times and that the timeline is subject to massive resets, just like the mud flood. The controllers of the 19th century needed to maintain the linear timeline, the idea that humanity only achieved metalwork recently. The discovery of metallic, machined objects in ancient rock layers directly threatened this. The objects were suppressed because they proved that the 19th century elite were not pioneers. They were simply the latest inheritors of a cycle of technology. The entire narrative of human evolution, as established in the 19th century, is a psychological weapon designed to create an unbridgeable gap between modern man and the giants. The Cabal needed to prove that. 1. The giants were not human. They created the missing link narrative, the concept that huge, primitive proto-humans existed millions of years ago, which further displaced the giant remains into deep time. Point 2. Modern man is superior. They established the idea of a slow, upward climb of intelligence, justifying the elite's right to rule over the less evolved population. The 19th century saw the sudden, massive publishing of pseudoscientific illustrations and diagrams showing the alleged evolutionary progression. These were highly influential but entirely speculative drawings, designed to create a false visual history where the massive, intelligent Tartarian giants simply did not fit. This manipulation was essential for the long-term control. By undermining the population's belief in its own powerful lineage, the controllers ensured that the current, scaled-down civilization would never aspire to reclaim the technological superiority of Tartaria. The evolutionary gap is the ultimate philosophical censorship. The archaeological hoax was supported by science, but the architects who were forced to build the museums left a cryptic warning. We reveal the encoded symbols hidden within the foundation stones of the very institutions built to house the fake fossils. Look at the oldest corners of the 19th century Natural History Museums. Hidden in plain sight, carved into the cornerstone or discreetly etched into the base of columns, are geometric symbols that do not belong to Victorian design. These are Tartarian resistance glyphs. The architects, who knew the buildings were archaeological prisons, used these symbols to 1. Mark the lie. The presence of the symbols indicated that the structure was compromised and used for censorship. Point 2. Signal survival. The glyphs often pointed to hidden structural features or reinforced vaults that were not part of the official plan, suggesting where the genuine Tartarian knowledge might be secretly stored. This act of defiance is the final proof that the scientific consensus of the 19th century was forced. Even within the very walls of the institutions designed to bury the truth, a small, dedicated resistance ensured that the memory of the giants and the true timeline would survive. The greatest physical lie is the one you see when you look at a textbook. We expose the faked geological stratophotographs of the 19th century, images that were carefully fabricated to prove the millions of years timeline. You have seen the mislabeled giant bones. If this evidence confirms the deliberate manipulation of geology itself, make sure you subscribe to the Epoch Reset channel and hit the like button right now, because we are about to reveal the internal museum instructions detailing how to manually assemble fake rock layers for photography. The 19th century geological community, eager to support the dinosaur hoax, produced countless photographs and illustrations of perfect, layered rock strata, claiming each layer represented millions of years. This was scientifically impossible to verify in the field at the time that we believe these photographs were taken in controlled indoor environments using artificially constructed, small-scale rock models. These models, easily manipulated, allowed the geologists to 1. Create clarity, show distinct, clean layers that do not exist in genuine, chaotic geological formations. Point 2. Control scale. Artificially assign immense ages to each thin layer, thereby pushing the Tartarian collapse further into deep time. This visual fabrication was necessary to counter the mud flood evidence. The sediment layer from the collapse is a massive, sudden, uniform deposit that suggests a recent catastrophe. The faked stratophotos provided the official, slow, multi-million-year counter-narrative, ensuring that any anomaly suggesting recent giants was immediately dismissed as a geological impossibility. To finalize the scientific lie, the 19th century elite needed to establish a primitive predecessor civilization, a simple, easily understood template to which all real Tartarian artifacts could be compared. They invented the ancient Roman and ancient Greek template. The historical narrative of primitive Greece and Rome, as taught in the 19th century, was designed to be 1. Understandable, easily grasped by the resettled population, providing a simple, linear progression from column to canon. 2. Inferior. The ancient technology, crude plumbing, simple mechanics, was deliberately portrayed as inferior to the 19th century's purported inventions. This template was a censorship tool. Whenever a Tartarian artifact, like an anti-gravity disc or a sonic weapon, was discovered, it was immediately classified as a primitive Roman device or an unusually sophisticated Greek toy. This forced the real technological marvel into a fictional, non-threatening historical context. The architectural style of Tartaria itself, which borrowed from and elevated classical forms, made this deception easy. The 19th century elite simply claimed, "We inherited classical styles, not ancient technology." The truth about the fossil hoax lies not in the bones, but in the maps used to chart the dig sites. We reveal the shocking evidence that the official 19th century archaeological maps were deliberately falsified to hide the true locations of the giant human remains. When a giant skeleton was found in the American West, the official archaeological map produced by the Smithsonian often 1. Mislocated the find. The official coordinates were deliberately offset by several miles, ensuring that no future independent researcher could return to the site and verify the giant remains. 2. Omitted key features. The maps systematically excluded any nearby Tartarian architectural anomalies, buried arches, strange stone circles, that might link the giant bones to the advanced civilization. These fake maps were essential for the cover-up's long-term survival. They ensured that the truth was not only hidden from the public, but also from the future generations of honest scientists. The 19th century archaeological map is a document of deception, not discovery. The final scientific lie involves the skies. The 19th century saw the rise of the official science of meteoritics, the study of meteorites. This was a direct, calculated campaign to neutralize the terrifying evidence of the celestial event that triggered the mud flood. The Tartarian collapse was linked to a massive cosmic anomaly. The 19th century controllers realized that the scattered geological evidence, strange, melted rock formations, unusual elemental deposits, could eventually be linked to a recent catastrophic impact. Their response was to normalize the cosmic threat. By establishing meteoritics, they taught the public that meteors were small, rare, and localized events. They systematically seized and mislabeled all large, anomalous meteorite finds, ensuring that no one could quantify the sheer scale of the celestial event that preceded the mud flood. The 19th century scientific establishment used meteoritics to contain the public's fear and curiosity, preventing them from realizing that the Earth is prone to massive, civilization-ending cosmic cycles. Cycles that the Tartarians had understood and attempted to track. That we have exposed the scientific fraud, the faked dinosaurs, the manipulated strata, and the censored maps. The 19th century's scientific establishment was not dedicated to truth. It was dedicated to the maintenance of the lie. The ultimate philosophical lie is that we are small. The invention of the dinosaur and the chronological buffer of millions of years were created to make you feel tiny, insignificant, and separate from the colossal, powerful lineage of the giants. The truth is that the giant civilization was highly advanced, recent, and their history is the history of your potential. The lie is designed to keep you from seeking that potential that we have revealed the financial roots of the fossil hoax and the encoded symbols of the architects. Now it is your turn to act. If this video has shattered your view of the scientific past, then subscribe to Epoch Reset, hit that notification bell, and leave a comment below right now. Tell us, do you believe the dinosaur hoax was the most successful lie of the 19th century? And how much of your local museum's display is actually made up of giant human remains?